in round 4, you took a running back that you could have taken in round 3 because your pick at the 310 all the way into round number 4, there were no running backs taken. After you took Allen, it went Devontae Smith, Lamar Jackson, Calvin Ridley, TJ Hawkinson. So running back was free and open for you. And you decided to make a pick here that I think would shock the casual fan, but you have a great reasoning behind it and a great value proposition for people drafting in this position. And you took Jahmyr Gibbs, the rookie for the Detroit Lions.
So I think people a lot of folks are going to instinctively hate this landing spot. Oh, they signed David Montgomery to a big contract. And, like, what are they doing drafting a running back at 12 overall when you had other needs? And all of that is valid. Let's just throw this out there. Per Fantasy Points data, the Lions offensive line opened the 3rd most yards before contact of any line in the NFL on running back runs. That's even ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles. Last year, Jamal Williams led the NFL in rushing touchdowns. If you're breaking down from a fantasy points per game perspective, the Lions had the RB19 in Jamal Williams. He was RB19 without catching anything. And they had the RB16 in DeAndre Swift. They hated DeAndre Swift. So much so that they were working in Justin Jackson pretty liberally from the middle to the end of the season. Now, they had 2 top 20 running backs from a fantasy perspective and replaced them both this offseason with clearly what they think are better options. I took Jahmyr Gibbs at RB15. DeAndre Swift was RB16 last year. If he has the exact same role as DeAndre Swift, then Jahmyr Gibbs as a better version might well outpace what DeAndre Swift did last year. So I'm looking at Jahmyr Gibbs and saying, first and foremost, who else is catching passes on this team? Jamison Williams is suspended the first 6 weeks. Their starting tight end, presumably, is going to be a rookie in Sam Laporta. They have Marvin Jones and Josh Reynolds as their projected outside starting wide receivers. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to catch a ton of passes. RB15, I will take him all day long. If he's a 4th-round pick, I will have a ton of Jahmyr Gibbs this year. Again, not an ideal RB1, but when looking at the Lions situation last year, DeAndre Swift, RB16 in fantasy points per game. I understand how that skews because he had a few huge games. But what if Gibbs is a little more consistent? Look at how excited they were to draft him. I'll take that on my fantasy team.
And they took him as 12 overall. I mean, that's incredible. When you see any running back, I think it kind of gets skewed this year because we saw Bijan Robinson go ahead of him to the Atlanta Falcons. So it's like, oh, well, he's the 2nd running back taken. He was still taken at 12 overall, which is incredibly high for a running back. Last year,
high for a running back in any era, by the way,
not
just this era. So that's a high 1st-round investment. I think the Lions are going to use him. I think the Lions' entire philosophy, I don't think they're trying to like make some grand statement on positional value. I literally just believe Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell were saying, let's take good football players. And if you want to skewer us, then skewer us for that. But they're going to use this kid. They used 2 running backs last year, and they hated them both, apparently, because they let him go.
And Swift caught the 12th most passes in the NFL among running backs with 48. And you've got to also imagine, like, David Montgomery's not going to score 17 touchdowns or whatever Jamal Williams. Like, that's kind of an outlier season. That's going to get broken down a little more. And Gibbs is going to pick off a few of those.